So good morning, ma'am. Good morning, classmates. For today, I would like to discuss about the material or the economic self. Okay, so all the physical elements that reflect who a person is, maybe that is positions, cars, home, body, clothes, are part of a material self. Okay, so for now, think about yourself, uh, of what you're clothed of, what interests you, or are passionate about. Okay, so then what you spend for. Okay, so the material self craves for clothes not only to cover the essential parts of the body, but also to decorate the self. Okay, so moreover, the material self is constituted by our bodies, clothes, immediate family, and home. It is to these things, according to James, that we are most deeply affected because of our investment of self within these things. The more we invest of ourselves in this object, so then the more attached we inevitably are to them. Okay? So for the material self, object help make the person, but they also show that that person is made of. It means the use and display of wealth remains powerful and controversial. And now we're more so than for the super rich. Private wealth has continued to find different outlets, changing with generations and shaped by national culture and value system. So psychologists who study the impact of wealth and equality on human behavior have found that money can powerfully influence our thoughts and action in ways that we're often not aware of, no matter what our economic circumstances are. Okay? So, according to Cortez in 2017, uh, there are five evidences behind the idea that money can change people. Okay, so for number one evidence, that is a social and business value. Okay, so Heyman and Arley in 2004 surmised that there are two motivations for completing a given task. The first is social. Okay? So by recognizing a task, social value, a person sees it as a worthy investment of a time and part of his or her duty. Okay? So, and he or she is usually happy to help out. So when money is offered as the motivation, however, people start thinking less of the social aspect and more about the business value. So as a matter of fact, even relatives who ask for favor, nursing the dependent senior citizen requires compensation to to equate, okay, the effort done. The more money received, you know, so the more frequent visits and more tasks done. If less money is paid, the lesser the chances of coming back with me alibis and excuses given. So for number two evidence is that self-sufficiency and service. Okay, so those who are conscious of money typically strive to be more self-sufficient than those from money isn't a priority. When given a very difficult and even possible task with instruction that help was available, it was the money-related group that seemed the most intent in getting the job done alone. Even when it is not possible to finish the task, okay, it only means that money-conscious individuals are more sufficient than their peers, particularly when money is made the focus. Okay, so that is the number two evidence. So for number three, this is the self-view. So the amount one earns could have an effect on how she or he both himself and herself and to others. Okay, so the wealthiest people are those with deeper sense of class essentialism, the idea that difference between classes are based upon identity and genetics rather than circumstance. Okay? So poor people tend to believe that social class was not related to genes. See? So that essentially anyone can be poor. Okay? So rich people were more likely to believe that wealth was part of genes and identity, that they were entitled to wealth based upon their personal circumstance and action. Okay? So wealthy people also believe that more or less life is fair and people mostly get what they deserve. Okay, so that is number 3, evidence. Okay, so for number 4, that is ethics. Okay, so those who perceive themselves to be in a higher class were the most likely to engage in unethical behavior, particularly when a symbol of wealth was introduced, such as cutting off a pedestrian when in a luxury car. For example, Piff in his study labeled the behavior, that is the self-interest maximization. Okay, so an idea that suggests those who have the most money or occupy higher classes are more likely to take what is in it for me. Okay, attitude. They actively work toward the most benefit for themselves. Okay, so that is for number 4, evidence. Okay, for the last one, that is addiction evidence. Okay, so many addiction begin because a person gets positive from a certain type of behavior, whether it's a happy feeling that one gets from shopping or a thrill that comes from gambling. Okay, so actively seeking out that behavior again and again for the same outcome can trigger an addiction. Okay, so this is called behavioral or process addiction. A compulsive behavior not motivated by a dependency on an addictive substance, but rather by a process that leads to seemingly positive outcome. Earning money can be very addictive from some individuals. That high or big check or well-paid savings account can become the sole purpose of a wealth searches for life. Okay, so the positive feeling that savings account can become the sole purpose of wealth searches in life. Okay, so in another instance, which is non-voluntary loss of possession, may bring about the diminished sense of self is when possessions are lost due to theft or casualty. In the case of vulgar victims, Rosenblatt, Lash, and Jackson in 1976 suggest that in process of grief and mourning may follow the discovery of theft, just as one might grieve and mourn the death of a loved one who had been part of one's life. Okay, so the income earned then determine the level of consumption. Okay, so that is the 5 evidences. Okay, that is the 5 evidences according to the psychologists who study the impact of wealth and equality in human behavior. Okay, so from the discussion, we can say that the material self refers to all of the physical elements that reflect who a person is, which includes his or her body, possessions, and home. The body is the innermost part of the material self. The family home and clothes from a person material self. Furthermore, a practical interest of a person is part of his or her material self, which includes the instinctive, impulsive of collecting property. Okay. Luxury materialism are byproducts of material self. Materialism refers to theory or belief that nothing exists except matter. Okay? Its movement and its modifications, the theory or belief that consciousness and will are wholly due to material agency, tendency to consider material position and physical comfort as more important than spiritual value. Okay, so finally, as we shape the way we see ourselves and develop our sense of self and identity, reflecting on this familiar statement might help. People were created to be loved, and things were created to be used. Okay? So the reason why the word is in so much shows right now is because people are being used and things are being loved. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you, and I hope you understand what I discussed for today. Thank you.